Kelly, something different about you today. We'll talk about that, I guess, a little later. There's the smile our listeners love. It's the Kelly Prez question and answers period. And I'm excited about the segment. We had over 1,000 views last week. A bunch of people emailed in questions. Uh, um, we're going to do it every single week. We're going to build this thing up to over 10,000 views. So let's get going. So what's different about you?
The funny thing about this show is that Prez doesn't ever tell me the questions beforehand, and then he puts me on the spot, and so here I am. No, I was laughing about last week. We joked about me getting a GoFundMe to get some Botox. So last night I went and saw the doctor so that I don't look as old on television. Feeling nice, and I don't have any bruising, so that's good. I was a little nervous.
Well, you look sensational.
Thanks, Prez.
Okay, let's get to it, young lady. So the first question I want to we're going to ask you, is from David. And he wants to know, what was Kelly's worst date? And he wants full details.
Oh, God. I don't even remember this kid's name. But I do remember this was the worst first date. There was a K-State football player that I knew. And this is when Facebook first came out, okay? So 2003, maybe 2004. So there was no catfish show. There was no way to see anything. But anyway, he was a mutual friend of the K-State football player I knew. And so he messaged me, really nice guy. We were, going back and forth on Facebook. He asked for my number. I remember we talked for an hour or two on the phone. He's like, I really want to take you out. He shows up at my door and I'm like, oh no. Now, mind you, I get it that genetics wise, not all guys are going to look the same, but his cousin was a really good looking guy. And his Facebook picture, he was a decent looking guy, not an attractive guy.
How did you get out of it?
I didn't. I went on the date and I ate my face off, drank my face off, and then I rushed in my door as soon as he dropped me off at home, and I never talked to the kid again.
Did he make a move?
I didn't even give him the opportunity to. I was the most obnoxious person I could be on this date, said crazy stuff, drank, and ate my face off because I was like, well, here we are. There was no texting back then where I could text a friend and be like, hey, call me, save me from this horrific experiment. But now that the catfish show and stuff is out, I'm like, I totally got catfished.
Okay, well, there we go. Kelly's worst date. I can tell you mine, but nobody cares. So we're gonna do personal questions and gambling questions, and we have a gambling question from Jeremy. I don't actually understand specifically the question, but I understand the point. So I actually would like to talk about the point. He asked, why the hell did you take the Seahawks to cover in that Super Bowl versus the Patriots if you knew the public was on the Seahawks? Now, firstly, I don't even know who he's talking about.
He must be talking about me. He must be.
Okay,
I had 5 dimes on the Seahawks in that game.
Okay, so I don't want to go back and talk about why you took a game from 15 freaking years ago, but what
or 4.
Or 4. But what I do want to talk about, Kelly, is the concept of why would we bet a team when we know the public is on that team? I can speak on behalf of me, and there's no relevance to me. I bet a team based on my handicapping, my style, what I'm looking for, the matchups and the game charts, the drive charts that I study, and what I personally think. Many times I will find myself on the same side as the general public. The general public are not always wrong, Kelly. I mean, frankly, the general public are probably right close to 50% of the time. The problem with the general public is that they make parlays, and that's ultimately why they lose all their money so quickly. So for me personally, Jeremy, I don't really care. I don't actually pay attention to where smart money is or the general public's money is. I handicap in a bubble, and I pick what I pick.
I'm going to piggyback off what you said, Prez. I handicap what I handicap. If I look at a game, let's talk about the Chiefs Browns last week, right? If I look at a game, does it matter if the public's on one side or another? No. I've already decided on what I like on the game. But if the public also disagrees with me, yes. Sometimes I tend to like that game a little bit more. 91% of the tickets were on the Chiefs last week. Did it matter for 1 second? Absolutely not. The public is much more educated than people tend to realize. It's 2018. They have handicappers they can talk to. They have talking heads on TV. They have the internet. You know, like to say that you're not going to get rich fading the public.
Right. I'm with you 100%. Okay, so let's get to a personal question. Chip sent it in. He writes, I'm 46 and was in the health club industry for years. My biggest problem in which why my ex is married to this veterinarian is CrossFit makes chicks' traps way too big, and I lost total physical attraction to her. Felt like I was standing next to a dude. We know Kelly does CrossFit. She looks great. But Kelly, I mean, you know, there's no real question here, but it's interesting because I did CrossFit for a year and I stopped doing it because I felt my ass was getting too big.
So I want my ass to get bigger, and that is why I started CrossFit, but you are correct. I've been doing CrossFit for 9 months and I just stopped. I'm going to a new gym that's geared towards more women that do more fitness modeling and stuff like that. That's not what I want to do. But I did notice that my upper body was getting too big and I didn't like it. And so I want to focus on more getting like defined legs, better abs. So he is correct about CrossFit, but I will say I will go back to CrossFit. I really enjoy the cardiovascular aspect. I enjoy the camaraderie there. But you're right, doing 100 pull-ups, whether they're assisted or not, like, yeah, my back is huge compared to what it used to be.
Kelly, I kid you not, I just came back from the gym literally 20 minutes ago and I did 120 pull-ups and chin-ups.
See, that's great, but you're a guy, so
my hands are all calloused.
I know, I have callous hands too. That's the other thing I don't like about CrossFit. So I'm working on maybe gonna start wearing some gloves.
Okay, well, callous hands for women, they have their good. Let's move on. Kelly, question from Tom. If you have a big bankroll, how come you sell picks? Doesn't seem to be worth the headache. You know, Kel, this is a question I get all the time, and I'm just going to tell you a quick story. Listeners out there, my brother, who is 2 years younger than me, he owns a company called Spin Master Toys. Spin Master owns Paw Patrol, which is probably the second largest media brand in the world. They also own Hatchimals, Air Hogs, Etch-a-Sketch, Swimways. My brother is a multi-billionaire, one of the richest people in Canada. And every morning he wakes up and he goes to work, Kelly. And I don't really see the relevance of, well, you have a big bankroll or you do so well in betting. Why do you sell picks? Kelly, this is my job and I love it. I love that I am a co-founder of WagerTalk and that we're building this business together. Me, you, Marco, Ralph, Johnny, Teddy. You know, I love what we're doing, where we're going. And I love selling picks and I love the communication with the general public. So, you know, the fact that my brother has done really, really well and is 47 doesn't mean he should retire. And the fact that I've done, well, not really well compared to him, but well compared to others, doesn't mean I should stop doing what I'm doing. I've been selling picks since 1998, and it's somewhat offensive to me when these people come in there and they're like, well, if you're such a great bettor, why do you sell picks? This is what I do for a living. What do you want me to do? Not work at 49 years old?
I think one thing that was said to me, probably let's call it 2012, before I ever started selling picks was, well, how much work do you do a week on these games? Okay, you work 20, 30, 40 hours a week. How much do you do this? How much do you do this? Why not get paid more for the work you're doing anyway? You're already doing the work, Kelly. And I'm like, oh, that makes a lot of sense to me. And as long as you are providing a service that people want, people are willing to pay for, what's the problem?
And not only that, Kelly, but you have to feel good about your picks and selling your picks to the general public. I mean, this is a dirty industry, and we know it. Going back 20 years with the 900 numbers and the people double-siding the games and the math equation on how to take 200 customers and end up with 10 that went 6-0. I understand that, but what we do at WagerTalk is completely legitimate. And I feel really good about what I do. I mean, I told you last week, I now have a return over the last 11 months of 214% on my money. So I'm very comfortable at what I do. I mean, if you're so good at picking stocks, why are you a stockbroker?
Exactly. 5,000%. You hit the nail on the head.
Kelly, question from Andrew, favorite sex position. Now, before you get into this, I think that picture was clearly meant, that question was a picture. How's that for a slip of the words, slip of the tongue? I think that question, Kelly, was meant to me. So I'm going to answer. So back in the day, my favorite sex position was probably doggy style. I like to see the rump. But I'm 49 now, and I've kind of ran out of a lot of energy. So I cannot imagine pounding for 20 straight minutes anymore. It's just too much for me. So my favorite sex position is lying on my back, very still, and allowing the female to do all the work. Normally, I'd have football on in the background, maybe read a book, you know, call some friends. But really, in all seriousness, my favorite sex position is still.
I can't even keep a straight face right now. But I think that's great.
Yeah, go on.
No, I think that's great. Just sit back and relax.
Yeah, that'll be my Tinder profile ad. I like it still.
I just don't have to move.
My name is the Prez. I like long walks and lying on my back while you do all the work.
Perfect.
Yeah, exactly. Kel, one last question, and that's to me, and you can answer as well afterwards. You know, they say how often, Minty Core writes, how often should one recalculate their bankroll in order to maintain the accuracy of betting against the bankroll? Kelly, I want to end on this question because it's the simple, single, most important question in all of sports betting. The bottom line, Minty Core, nice name, your parents need help, is you never adjust your bankroll. You play 2, 3, 4%, and sometimes maybe 5% of your bankroll on every play. You play a percentage against your bankroll, not a unit number. So if you have $10,000 in your bankroll and you don't bet $500 for 20 straight games, you bet $500, and if you win, you bet $550, and if you win, you bet $600, and so on and so forth. You always maintain the exact same percentage within 2 to 4 or 3 to 5% on every play. And that way, and we spoke about this in one of the other videos, and that way your money exponentially grows. So as you win, you're betting more, and as you lose, you're betting less. So really, that's the answer, Minty Core. Never adjust your bankroll, always bet a percentage. But the most important thing, Kelly, is actually knowing what your bankroll is.
That's what I was going to say. Each and every week, this last week, if you follow me on Twitter, you know I took an absolute bath in college football and NFL. It was the worst betting week I've had in a long time. So now I'm going to take off this nice chunk of my bankroll and start over again, fresh week, and say, okay, if I'm going to bet Thursday night game, Friday night game, whatever, this is what my new percentage is. I do 3, 4, and 5% personally. Everybody's got a little bit of different percentages, but I think it's important not to probably go over the 5%.
I agree. 5% is absolutely maximum, and I think 2% is minimum. You know, and no parlays, no parlays. And we're going to talk about parlays next week because we've had some questions, but we're going to keep the show to 15 minutes. Kel, that's really it. You know, I appreciate being able to do this with you, sharing my favorite sexual position with you, learning about your Botox, your worst date, and everything else. And, you know, I'm pumped about our presidential NFL address. So guys listening to the show, please email us your questions. You can email me at prez@wagertalk.com. You can tweet me at PrezWagerTalk. But the best way to get your questions to me is to put it up in the comment section on YouTube. Kel, anything else?
No, I'm ready to talk some NFL. So make sure you guys head over and check out our other video up on the WagerTalk YouTube page.